Good morning and welcome back to the BounceBack Leadership Show, where we talk about how important it is to bounce back from your setbacks. Now, as you know, I was gone for a little while, about 4 days. We went to Northern Michigan. We had a great time with some friends and got to do a little wine tasting, got to do a little sightseeing with the Big Bear Dunes and all that stuff in Petoskey and Grand Traverse. Just a really good time. Anyway, enough about me. I want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to help you to understand how important it is to bounce back from your setbacks. And having that confidence is definitely one of those pillars. Confidence, and then there's self-awareness. There's a lot of other things that go into this. We're going to have a show on Thursday at 10 o'clock where we're going to talk more about that, 10 o'clock a.m., where we're going to talk more about what all we can provide from a retreat perspective to just add as much value as we can to you. So somebody that knows a lot about how to bounce back from a setback is our guest today. And he is coming on, and you're just going to be so glad to see him. I can't wait for you to join him. And here he is, without any further ado, Mr. Joe Fingerhut. Hey, Joe!
Good morning, Brian. What's happening?
I'm awesome. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks for being on.
Well, you asked me to, and I've been looking forward to it. So I love what you're doing, and I'm really honored to be on your guest list.
You're the best. Hey, Joe, tell me about when you had a setback and you were able to come back from that setback.
Oh, man. Where do I start? Well, okay, so I have a deep passion for basketball, and I have loved basketball. I was never the best player. I didn't even make my high school team, but I've always played recreationally. And when I was 33, I was playing pickup, and I was playing with usually younger guys. And it was funny. There was one time I was playing, and there was like a college kid. I was just running around. I have a lot of energy, as you know. And he was just like, "How old are you?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm 32. And he's like, "I don't believe you." And I was really feeling good. And then 33, I blew out my ACL and MCL and meniscus in one fell swoop. And I was like, oh, man. And I thought that might be the end of my basketball career. But I was just like, well, let's just get it back to a good spot. So I got my leg back to a good spot. And then I eventually got back into it. And eventually I played pickup again. And then at age 40, actually 6 weeks before I turned 40, I was like excited because I'm like, I'm going to make it to 40. I'm still playing basketball. And I blew out my other knee. And so that was a huge setback. So I took my rehab seriously, and I just got to a point where I'm like, you know what? I think I'm done with 5-on-5 basketball. But the bounce back was I have thrown myself into coaching. And I get so much, and I don't even think I've shared that story with you before.
No.
So I have coached both my son and my daughter for 4 years, and I love it. I put way too much energy and thought into it, but it is incredibly fulfilling to watch these kids improve and to have a small part in that, rather than just focusing on me and how I'm going to play that night or whatever.
Awesome. And if you want to hear more, stay right there. Great story, Joe. And for all of our listeners that are listening in, please put a hashtag live if you're listening in live. If you're listening in replay, put a hashtag replay. Let us know where you're coming in from as well. And if you want, put a picture in your timeline of you winking. It's called winking warriors, and you'll be added to the raffle to win the book. Sometimes it does take a brain surgeon, so that's phenomenal as well. But Joe, tell us a little bit more about that bounce back. You bounced back. You really took what you had, what you've done, on the court, and you've given it to your kids. So how they receive that?
My kids have really appreciated that whole experience. Like I said, I coached my son and my daughter for the last 4 years. My son's now entering high school. So I've kind of exited the coaching arena there, because if he makes the team and continues in basketball, like, those coaches will take over. But my daughter is in 6th grade, and we always talk about, what they want to do. We're not forcing anything. So we've kind of checked in and like, hey, do you want to play basketball this year? She's like, oh yeah, absolutely. And like, do you want me to coach? And she's like, yes, I want you to coach. So I think just giving that time, and I don't want to we're not like some big, powerful national team. I mean, these are just like the local tiny little school teams, but I have really loved and appreciated pouring into all the kids on the team, and you kind of take ownership of their improvement. And
isn't that great to see?
Oh, it's incredible. And my dad was always our coach growing up. And I know all of the moms and dads of my friends on the teams, they always appreciated him. And I see that now. I get that appreciation from the parents. They can really see that I really care about this stuff and I'm really into it. So it's a lot of fun.
But tell me, how does that make you feel?
Oh, it's great. When I'm playing, or when I was playing, you're always just like, okay, how do I want to play tonight? Or how did I play tonight? You're thinking about, oh, that guy one-on-one and stuff. And now it's like, I'm solely concerned with like the 8 or 9 or 10 in this now girls that I'm just like, how can I make their experience good? So my focus is bigger than me. And it really makes me feel fulfilled. I mean, we could have a bad loss or whatever, but it's like, if I see improvement, like, I'm able to draw a lot of satisfaction and fulfillment from that. I mean, I can just see, well, maybe we lost by 10, but this girl like rebounded for the first time, like she got it today, or the dribbling or whatever, you can see those, you can catch those little victories.
Those little victories mean a lot.
Just huge victories. And then not just from game to game, but from the start of the season to the end of the season, it's a lot of fun. It really makes my heart float.
That's awesome. Great story. How do those little victories, celebrating those little victories, what does that mean to you and to the kids?
I think they see, I hope that I am providing an example that you don't have to dominate the game. You don't have to win every game to gain positives and gain little victories from these efforts and from these movements, right? And the same thing, like, not every day, in the bigger picture of life, not every day has to be the best day ever, and you don't have to have some big life victory every single day to make that day successful and to make those efforts successful. And so when I'm presenting that philosophy and that approach on a week-to-week basis during the basketball season, I want to encourage those girls that I'm working with, or those boys that I'm working with, to just see, like, it's okay to really celebrate the small victories, because that sets the foundation for the bigger victories that you're working towards. You got to learn what it's like to win small and win often, to ultimately build up to those big wins that are going to mean a lot.
There's so many life lessons in that coaching job.
Yeah. I mean, I love it. As I'm speaking about it, I'm like, oh yeah, sometimes I haven't even thought about it like this intentionally. It's just, I want them to have a positive experience. I always communicate with my team, my parents, and my kids at the beginning of the season. Like, yes, we want to win, but like I want to provide a positive experience of playing on this team so that you come back to this sport. So you try new sports and then take those lessons, hopefully, and apply them to other areas in your life as well.
So think about that application and the different sports and all that. What do you think is out there that will help them to be able to see other things that they're not seeing? Because they have blind spots. We all have blind spots. You have blind spots. How do you teach that? How do you teach that aspect of knowing that there's something else out there?
I think it's probably just being optimistic and knowing that success is going to come. I mean, a blind spot can really just be like, so my daughter, right? When we're shooting around, she's such a perfectionist. She's good at a lot of things. A lot of things come, I don't want to say easy, but they come to her, whether it's in school or playing music or playing sports. So then we're playing basketball and she'll miss a couple of shots and she'll really react strongly. And so just last night we were shooting around and I was like, can I encourage you to just try, when you miss a shot, it's like, oh, okay, that's interesting. Or, oh, well, and just taking that improvement to the next shot. And then I just got to telling her, like, NBA players miss most of their shots. She's like, what? I'm like, they miss. Like, if they're shooting 40% or close to 50%, that's successful. So you're exerting a lot of energy over these little failures, when it's just kind of, if you just shift how you're approaching it. So I think that could be a blind spot of just like, you think this matters a lot, when it's like you're putting a lot of emotional investment into that specific result. But in the grand scheme of things, that's a blind spot, because it's okay. It's all a learning experience. It's practice for the next one.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So what are you doing next with your coaching career?
I'm just continuing another season. It's about to start. It's right around the corner. And slightly unintentionally, I think we signed up for 2 leagues.
Like slightly?
Well, I don't want to get into it too much, but we decided to not play in this one league because my daughter wanted to play with the girls she goes to school with. So we signed up for that one. But then when it turned out the schedule doesn't overlap with the other one, we're like, oh, I guess we can do both. But then I learned after committing to both that other league was just the first half. So the second half is going to overlap. And I'm like, what do we do? But I'm just like, look, I have assistant coaches, and it's not the end of the world if we miss a game, or, we're too tired or too committed or whatever.
Yeah.
Life will go on. We're not training Olympians here. And so that's kind of what's next. I just want to have a good experience and watch their skills grow.
So you talk about your assistant coaches. How do you instill in them the same mindset that you have?
I think it's just more by example. Because the situations with the assistant coaches over the last couple of years, these aren't people that I was necessarily like good friends with and said, hey, you're perfect for this. Can you do this? It was more like, I need help from the parents who wants to step up. And so they step up. And a lot of them are like, I mean, straight up, like, I haven't played basketball since the 6th grade or something. Like, that's okay. I kind of just need a supportive, warm body. And so they see me exemplifying that, of just like, you don't have to be the best. Like, you don't have to be professional level. You just have to care and to show up and to be positive. And they see me exemplifying that, so it becomes easier for them to exemplify that.
Don't you think that they're getting a lot of that mindset from you when they go out there and they not even the actual practice, but the games, but in life, just having that mindset. Don't you see that happening?
I hope they do, and I think they do. And like, just one small example is a lot of times my players, they're shooting, they're missing. I mean, these are kids, right? They're just not. We're building our skills, but I'm just like, keep shooting, keep shooting. Like they look over, oh, they miss, and they look over at me, and like, keep shooting. And I know parents love that because they see that. It's like, well, yeah, that's why we're here. Don't shy away from trying new things or trying to get better. And so, like going back to the assistant coaches, I hope I'm exemplifying that. I start to hear that in how they're helping to coach. Is just encouragement. Like, it's all right. Like, you're not going to be perfect at dribbling and shooting and passing, but let's just keep trying.
It's a life lesson. It's a life lesson. All that. The taking shots and missing. I mean, we do that every day. Dribbling and dribbling poorly and losing the ball, and you have to go back and get it. So you do that every day. There's so much that we can learn from that. So I think that's awesome. How have you been able to apply that in what you do and how you teach other students?
Well, what I do, you're talking about like in my professional career and what I'm doing.
Yeah.
In that way.
Yeah.
So my message, so as a professional speaker, I'm traveling all around the country and I'm speaking to a lot of different age groups, different size groups at conferences and schools and organizations. And my message has always been the mindset shift from I can't to how can I? And I can't is like a declaration. Your mind just gets to that period at the end of that sentence, just kind of stops. Like, all right, well, I guess I can't do it. It comes up with reasons. But when you shift your mindset to how can I, that's a question. So your mind is begging for solutions and you're looking for answers. You're programming your mind to seek ways to do it and partnership and resources and people that know that can help you. And so that's how I'm teaching people to approach life, is just with that. Look, if you think, the Henry Ford quote, one of my favorite quotes, the famous one, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you are right. Okay. That's just, I kind of have adopted that so deeply into my life approach, my mindset to life. And so I try to communicate that in teaching people, like, you're not always going to succeed. And in fact, most of the time, you're not going to succeed. When you're running your own business, like I am, like the majority of it is failure. Like you're going to get rejected a lot. You're trying to sell this, you're trying to make this happen. And a lot of times things just don't happen and you can't take it personally. A lot of times it's not even about you. It's just about timing or logistics, but you just have that positive attitude and that focus on what really gets your fire burning. And this is what I want to do. And I'm willing to overcome these obstacles to get to that point.
Yeah. That's such a lesson for me for today. Today I'm not feeling quite up to it and not really sure what's going on. But last week or last Wednesday was great. Why don't I take what I have from Wednesday and apply that to Thursday or Friday, or at least remember that happened?
Yeah, it's so hard. We kind of forget the victories, right? We have these big victories, and then it's just like, oh, okay, yeah, that's fine. But today's a new day. Like, I have to have more. I have to have another one.
Right.
And then we get in that rut of just like, well, things aren't really happening. But the good things in life, they're not just going to come to you. You have to pursue them. You have to make them happen. So you just kind of suck it up and be like, all right, well, how did I get to that Wednesday? Well, I had to build up to it. So let's start taking those steps. Let's build up to the next Wednesday, the next big victory that we can celebrate.
How do you do that with your audiences that you speak to?
How do I communicate that?
Yeah.
So I love telling stories. That's not some revolutionary idea. Like if you're a professional speaker, you're going to be telling stories. But what I strive to do is not only to tell a great story, but relate to the audience. Because in any audience, in any setting, in anywhere, every single person is waiting for you to answer that question So how does it apply to me?
Right.
When I started speaking, I had all these stories, and I've been grateful and lucky to do some amazing things in my life. I have traveled the world. I've pursued a couple different dream jobs. And so there's a lot of stories in there. And I used to just tell stories and throw them out. And I'd like expect that they got the lesson. And I had
Mm.
two speakers, they're friends of mine, kind of watch and give me feedback. And they're both like, I don't get what you're saying. I'm like,
Mm.
didn't you get that? Like, I learned how to ride a unicycle. That's a story of overcoming resilience. Like,
Mm.
I backpacked through Europe and I never traveled like that before. That is, it's pushing the boundaries of your comfort. Like, didn't you get that? And so over the years, I had to learn, like, humans want their lesson on a platter.
Right.
We want it laid out. So I'll tell a story and then I will say the words, here's how this applies to you.
Mm.
And you got to spend a lot less time on that lesson. They just want a little bit. They're more concerned with the story. And so that has helped a lot. That's how I communicate this to audiences. If I want to communicate with them a message of resilience, I tell a story and build it up of me setting my mind on learning to ride a unicycle and taking 2 years and learning how to do it. And then I take them all the way up to like, wait, okay, and then what? I'm like, oh, you want to see it? And I actually pull out the unicycle and I ride it on stage through the audience. And then I still come back to, and this is how it applies to you.
Now, how do you apply that to them?
So I'm real intentional. I talk about how it took me 2 years. And I say, now I want to ask you, what's your unicycle? I give it a second to sink in because they're like, what are you talking about? And I'm just like, well, you might not be sitting there thinking, I want to ride a unicycle, but there's probably something in your life that you really want to do. In some cases, maybe you have to do, but you're avoiding it or you're not fully embracing it because it's going to be hard. It's going to take a lot of time. It's going to take a lot of commitment. But the essence of success is failure. The essence of success is trying this and failing and doing more and learning more and bettering yourself so that you can get to that point where it's just like, okay, I figured it out. I conquered it. And that encouragement that you're not the only one that has to go through this. We all have to go through this in our own way.
That's a great life lesson. I mean, I couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah, well, good. I hope it's good. I mean, this is what I do for a living. So,
but I mean, it's so simple, but some people overlook it. They get up and they tell their stories and they'll talk about whatever, and they miss the point of. And I'm guilty of this as well. They miss the point of what does it mean to me? What does it mean to you? What does it mean to the audience member? So that's a great life lessons.
Yeah, when I learned this principle, I had hired a speaking coach, and he told me this, and it changed everything. I mean, it revolutionized what I was doing on stage, and I realized, like, Michael Jordan is my basketball hero, of course. I mean, that he dictated where I went to college. I chose to go to college in Chicago so I could see the Bulls play, and I got to see Michael Jordan play live 4 times. But I think about it, and I'm like, Michael Jordan could sit and tell stories for hours. Mm-hmm. But if it's just, this is what I did, this is what I did, this is what I did, like, the audience is going to kind of lose interest. It's like, okay, great. I mean, good for you. But right. Those speakers and those communicators and those storytellers that can then bring it around to, this is how it pertains to you. Like, that's the gift. I think that's where you have the most impact.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. I agree. Wow, this interview has been so simple, so relatable to so many people that I hope that there's something there that somebody latches onto. Like, oh, so I should be doing this, or maybe in my job, or maybe in my career, or maybe, with my my son or my daughter or my wife or my husband, I should be thinking about from their perspective. Oh, that makes all the difference in the world.
Empathy could take us a long way. Knowing,
Yes.
putting yourself in other people's shoes, and then I mean it's all about the bounce back. That's what life is. It's not even about the victories. It's about the bounce back from the steps on the way, because there's going to be we're going to have a lot of failures. If you can't learn how to bounce back, you're not going to get to that mountaintop, or even base camp, or wherever you're trying to go.
Wow. Joe, this has been phenomenal. I can't believe we're almost at the end of our time. But what is the one thing, and maybe it's 10 things, what do you want to leave our audience with today?
Challenge yourself as you go through hard times, or as you encounter things that you want to do. Simply, I want to challenge it, and you can start this today. Instead of focusing on the reasons why you can't, just ask yourself those 3 simple words. How can I? Just allow yourself to have that curiosity of, where are the answers? What are the answers? What can I do to solve this? If you're just, I can't do that. I'm not enough, right? I'm not tall enough, skinny enough, rich enough. I don't come from that type of family. I don't have enough type of experience. Like, just, okay, that's there. That's established. But how can I? Just try that today.
There you go. How can I? Awesome. Thank you, Joe. Hey, would you mind hanging out in the green room? And I'll come back in a little bit.
Yes. Awesome. Excited to hang with you, man.
Thank you. I appreciate you so much, and I appreciate your time today. Thanks for being on. All right. Wow. Another great show, another great session, another great interview, just another great meeting. And Joe Fingerhut is certainly one of those kind of guys that can bring that kind of experience to so many people. So if you're ever looking for somebody to speak to your group, consider Joe. We've got a lot going on this week, coming back from vacation, coming back from being off for a little bit. But I want to make sure that, and actually I'm starting at the School for the Blind this week as well, and that'll be starting tomorrow. But on Thursday, we're still going to have that session where we're going to talk about that retreat that we have coming up and what we're going to gain from that. So stick to your set, your set. Stick to this link for whether it's LinkedIn or YouTube or Facebook. And look for more information coming from me in regards to that and how we can serve you, how we can make this better. So thank you very much. I appreciate all of you being on today. And as always, just keep one eye on the road. Take care, and we'll see you soon.